like to have an opportunity for my panelists to go ahead and introduce themselves, and then also talk about how your organization is also affiliated with the Church of the School. Andy?
All at once you want us to do that?
Andy, I will turn it to you.
Hi, I'm Andy Hogue. I work for an organization called New Jersey Seeds. We're a private nonprofit based out of Newark, New Jersey. We work with families from New Jersey. We're going into our 25th year, so very exciting for us to be hitting one of our big milestones. Not 100 years, but 25 years for us is a great spot to be. We work with about 150 students per year, going through a few programs, 2 programs placed into private schools, some into private middle schools, and the vast majority, about 100 students a year, off to private high schools. Maybe 70%, roughly 70% go off to boarding schools, about 30% stay in New Jersey day schools. We're about 40%, 45% male. National trends. Males struggle in this environment when it comes to competition, academic competition. We're a selective organization. Currently on campus, get this, 20 students from Seeds are at CFS. It's an incredible partnership we've developed over the years. 30 have graduated CFS since the late 90s. 100% college attendance. The stories are just awesome, and something that I am very proud of, the partnership here, and very inspired by the work that everybody at the school is doing and we do together.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Eric Jones. I serve as the head of school at Community Partnership School, which is a pre-K through 5th grade program located in Lower North Philadelphia. The communities we serve primarily, you may recognize some of these names, you may not. Brewery Town, Strawberry Mansion, Francisville, that is our primary catchment area. The school is in its 10th year. The doors opened in 2006. We started back then with just over 30 students in pre-KK and first, added a grade a year to get to 5th, and now we are a full running pre-K through 5th grade program. Just so you understand demographically a little bit about the families we serve, because just about 80% of our families literally live within a mile of where our school is located. About a 5th of income earners in the zip code in which we're located, 19121, live in deep poverty. And that means that they're earning, for a family of 4, up to only half of whatever the poverty line is at a given time. Right now it's somewhere around $23,000. So they're earning half of that, up to half of that. A 5th of income earners in the community in which I live, they're a part of that part of the demographic. Most of the families that we serve, there aren't adults in the immediate family that have had school success, that have graduated from high school, from college, and many have not graduated from high school. So there are associated challenges, stresses that come with that. What we've said as a sort of guiding principle is that zip code should not determine outcome, life outcome, or more immediately, access to a quality program, quality school. And so that's what we provide. We have one student attending Church Farm right now. He was in the last group of middle school students that was enrolled. And if you see him around, he's only about 5'3", with, I don't think he has, does he still have his dreads? He just cut his dreads short, and he talks with a lisp. So you can't miss him. He is fantastic, and we look forward to having more of our young men attend Church Farm. What we work on is building skills, certainly reading, writing, and arithmetic, but also around self-confidence, agency, self-efficacy, social, emotional health and wellness is just as important for us as is the academic aspect of our children's development.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Dave Kasovich. I'm the head of school at St. James School. St. James School is located just about 2.5, 3 miles north of Community Partnership School in the Allegheny West section of North Philadelphia. We were founded in 2011. We're an Episcopal day school that serves on the neighborhood of Allegheny West. We started with a summer camp in 2009 on our property and expanded to an after-school program in 2010 and opened our doors in 2011. We have about 60 students at the school, grades 5 through 8. We serve students that are most in need of St. James School. All of our students come from 3 public schools that surround us. All 3 are low-performing public middle schools, elementary schools in our neighborhood. Our students we have 60 students, and we have a second school that we refer to, and it's our graduate school. Our graduates are attending, 15 of them, attending 12 different schools across the region, boarding schools, private Catholic schools, diocesan schools, Quaker school, and a few charter schools. Our school partnered with Church Farm School. We started the partnership in 2010. In 2010, I was running the after-school program, and the first group of volunteers to show up to help me set up the library were a group of boys from Church Farm School. And I remember the band out front in 2010. Our partnership has grown. We have boys that come down to St. James School on a monthly basis to volunteer, and as you heard, we now are partnering together on this church relations group here in the diocese.
Good morning, I'm Brandon Ziegler. I'm the Director of Admission here at Church Farm School, finishing up my 3rd year. One of the amazing things about this place is, as you've heard from Dave and also Eric, all of our schools do a lot of wonderful and good people-needed work. From my standpoint, I get to see it not only from Philadelphia, but from around the country and around the world. It's exciting to be able to serve so many different boys in need of a great education, and that is essentially our mission, to remove any barriers, whether they be financial or otherwise, that will help students have access to a great education that will get them to college, through college, and ultimately change not only their life, but their family's lives. Education is the great generation breaker. I mean, it breaks cycles of poverty that extend from generation to generation. And we do live in a country and in a society where Eric mentioned, you can look at zip codes and determine life outcomes, literally. And all the work that our wonderful schools and organizations such as SEEDS and a lot of other community-based organizations that we work with do works to limit the impacts that financial constraints, poor education, and different decisions that are made at different levels have on the impact of the student's life and on their education, which ultimately helps them become wonderful, productive, and great human beings that can give back to their communities, give back to their families, and create wonderful lives. So I'm glad to be here, and glad to partner with all of these people and everyone else.
Awesome. So my first question for the panelists, you guys do not have to go in any particular order. How do you work with these boys who come from these impoverished urban areas to help them transition and to acclimate to an independent school or boarding school environment from which they are very unfamiliar with?
So at SEEDS, I'm just going to speak about the scholars, what we call the Scholars Program. These are kids identified in 7th grade for 9th grade placement. So they're applying to us as an out-of-school program in the 7th grade, and then we work with them for about 14 months before they go off to 9th grade private school. The hope is private school. A 7th grader or rising 8th grader accepted into our program, we bring them on a 3-week residential experience at a private boarding school, and basically throw them into, to the best of our ability, what an independent school environment expectations would be. Academically, these kids are very, very strong kids. It tends to be the piece that we focus the most on. You heard Eric talk about a little bit, is this social emotional piece. For the first time, they're in a classroom of 15, 18 other kids who are their academic peers. They're getting their first C's and D's and F's on papers and trying to deal with that piece. They're away from home, most of them away from their parents for the first time. So we're bringing them through that process. We hire 10 Seeds alumni who are college-aged or older to live with the kids for those 3 weeks. They talk about their personal story and are an incredible support for them during that time. And the other piece of this is that I don't want to belittle in any way is the parent piece, right? That this is, what we really try to do is educate the student, obviously, and bring the student through what our process is. But we have a parent program, a parent curriculum that basically runs at parallel. It's not the same intensity, but there is a parent curriculum that we bring the parents through of what life is like to send your child to one of these schools as well. So that's kind of the basic of Seeds. During the 8th grade, they're with us on Saturdays as a 6th day. They're homeschooled Monday through Friday, back to us on Saturdays, and then the following summer, the summer prior to 9th grade, another 3-week residential experience.
Yeah, I'm going to repeat some of what Andy said, because it's exactly what came to mind for me. I mean, a part of our focus with our program, informing the work that we do via our program, is positioning our students, our families, for broadened access to opportunities that are often at their fingertips. But it's, just not knowing that it's there or not being set up to maximize it. So we're about trying to position our kids and our families for broadened access. And there are two elements to that I want to highlight, because it's multifaceted. There's more than just two things that go into it, but highlighting two things that Andy actually referenced. The first is the partnership with our families. So the name of the school is Community Partnership School, and that partnership ethos or sensibility informs everything that we do. I mean, we literally have over 80 active volunteers, the network of contributors, foundations, corporations, individuals, families, etc. But the partnership starts between home and school. Because as useful, as wonderful as our program is this, for our students, we believe that whomever their primary caregiver is their first teacher, their primary teacher. And hopefully what's being taught positions that child, for social mobility, to, be their best, for some strong sense of cultural identity, so forth. But when we partner closely with families, we feel like the primary beneficiaries are the kids. It's hard for kids to sort of slip through the cracks when home and school are working closely and well together. And so we work hard to foster strong relationships with our students' families. And I could offer more detail about that, happy to a little later. But the other thing is that I want to speak to that Andy referenced, that I mentioned a little while ago in the introductions, is the social emotional piece. That element is core. That element is core. Because we believe that in order for our kids to actually achieve their best, they first have to believe that they can. Right? That's self-efficacy. That's agency. Associated with that are certain skills that inform confidence, that inform grit or a glass half full sensibility. So we do have a number of kids who are coming from, fairly stressful, often traumatic situations. How do I then deal with anger? How do I problem solve? Work through disagreements. How do I give affirmations to others? Why is it important to celebrate others? These are intentional skills that are a part of our curriculum that we believe serve a necessary foundation for children if they are going to actually appropriate the knowledge they learn in school in ways that position them to be their best. So those two things, the parent homeschool connection and the building agency in our children, I believe is core when it comes to them actually being ready for a place like Church Farm.
St. James School is a member of a network of schools called Nativity Miguel Schools. There are about 60 schools in this network, and it's about 25 years old. The first school was opened in New York City, and the schools are known, they're mostly middle schools, they're known for their high school placement and graduate support program. And when St. James School opened, a year after we opened, we hired our director of high school placement and graduate support 3 years before our first class graduated. And that year, Kevin and we visited about 40-some high schools to start prepare for the high school placement process. And we had a checklist, and things we were looking for. Just a few of them we were looking for the relationship the high school had with families, and how they communicated with families, and were families welcomed at events. We looked at, did the high school have someone identified, a paid employee that worked with students coming from schools like St. James School and provided the mentoring and the support and the family connection. We looked at the college placement programs and what that looked like, and was it a robust program? And quite frankly, there were a number of high schools we decided not to partner with. And so we did that early on. And then we hired an associate director of high school placement a year later. To give you a sense of how we prepare students for high school, 2 nights ago we had a 5th grade high school information night, where high schools came to talk to our parents about high schools in 5th grade. And we do that every year to start familiarizing our families and our students with the options that they have as incredibly bright and talented young men and women. Another thing we do to help transition students is we come from a strengths model at St. James School. We look at what are the strengths of the child, and we try to identify that as early as possible. And so, if I'll give you an example. We have a student at Little Flower, Lachey. We knew that drama was what she loved. We learned this about 6th grade at our first musical production. And so we built her up and provided her with a lot of summer camp experience around drama. And we knew that Little Flower had a really great drama program. And we started talking to Little Flower a year before she arrived about her love of drama. And that's her passion. And if we can get the high school excited about the passion and the strength of the child, then that's another way to lift up that child and to help with that transition. Especially if there's an academic area that they're struggling with that can help complement their strength. The high school placement graduate support program, we have the most powerful moment of the day at St. James School is between 11 and 6, when our graduates come back for homework help and for tutoring. Maybe it's a graduate, I don't know. And what happens is the graduates they have to walk through the school to get to the graduate support office. And it's a lounge for them to eat, to get tutoring, and so on. And our students every day get to see Hallahan uniforms, get to see Ane from Penn Charter walking through and shaking their hands and introducing themselves and talking about what that high school experience is like. And that's been helping a lot with our students identifying the students that they know who have made it and succeeded. So that's just a little bit of what we do to help transition the students.
And I would double stamp and echo everything that has been said. And I will not repeat it because you heard it and it's wonderful. The one thing I would also add is we also work with our students a lot after they get here about decision making. And that is implied in what they said. But for example, yesterday I am going down, I coach our strength and conditioning club during the spring. And I do a couple of hard workouts every week, like really tough workouts meant to kind of mentally break a kid just so they understand that they can push themselves even further. And afterwards, we always have this thing called desserts extra work. So yesterday, I gave everybody except for one of our students dessert off. No dessert for everybody except for one kid. And I actually asked the coaches of our track team if it was okay if I pulled in 2 other students. Previous that day, these 3 students had made a lackluster decision. Nothing bad, right? They're not seniors, and we offer senior snacks to our seniors. It's a privilege as a senior to get a senior snack. These underclassmen went in, portrayed themselves like seniors for 2 mozzarella sticks, right? For 2 mozzarella sticks. So we had a conversation about that thinking, right? Like, let's talk about making that decision. And how does that decision impact you? Well, how does that, think about your reputation, right? Yeah, like that precedes you no matter where you go. So now people might think that you're not truthful, right? So let's look at the bigger picture here. So the little decision you made for immediate gratification over 2 mozzarella sticks could impact your career here. Not from a literal standpoint where you're going to get kicked out, but as an adult who works with you, I might second guess what you tell me for the next 4 years, 3 years you're here. So having those type of conversations with students and having them sit there and have aha moments like, wow, I've never thought about it like that. I just want mozzarella sticks, right? But those are literally the decisions that these students think about and sometimes don't necessarily think about the long-lasting impact. So a lot of the work we also do is, and especially the advisory group, is thinking about making the right decisions. What's ethical, what's not. We have an ethical literacy program here, leadership program here that does a lot of work there. And that's one of the things I would add on, because especially with boys at this age, right? Everything's moving 100 miles an hour, and they have no brakes, right? So they're just on to the next thing, on to the next thing. Don't know the large impact of little things inside, whether it be portraying themselves as seniors to get mozzarella sticks, or not thinking about turning in homework because they're just tired that night, and how that impacts grades, and how your grades impact ultimately where you get into college, and how 9th grade doesn't matter. So those are some of the things that I think we also take on the back end, as well as everything else that was previously said. Just in addition, because young men don't necessarily have the functioning at 13, 14 years old to think about the long-lasting decision, long-lasting impacts of the decision that they make.
Keeping track of your students, and it's not just they come to you, you serve them, out the door, they go. Can you talk a little bit about the importance of following through with these students of yours, and why it's just not a one-stop shop, and why it's important to track them, and how do you guys keep track of your students, and for how long do you plan to keep track of your students? Everyone, if you would like to start.
So the graduate support program, it can sound overbearing, the amount of support that we provide. Kevin visits our students at their high schools. He I have access, and Kevin has access to all of our students' grades with parental support of that. So we can go online, we track grades. We have different things going on in the graduate support office that help motivate students. Besides food, we have different whiteboards to congratulate students for different awards they received in high school. We have a 3.0 club. Students keep their name from the whiteboard as they come in. And the support at times can feel like a little bit like a helicopter parent to some of our high school partners. And I think that's a good thing. I think the support that we provide is the support for families that can't provide that support for that young man or that young woman. And I remind some of our high school partners that some of our parents can't be the soccer moms and soccer dads, or if our kids don't have a mom or dad that can provide that kind of support. So on the weekends, and there's a few in this room right now, a few of you are volunteers at St. James, and we connect our graduates to activities on the weekends, because otherwise we're encouraging them to sign up for things, to do things at their high schools, but also providing transportation. So we look at the graduate support program as a continuation of St. James School. And the high schools have very much appreciated the support and the guidance that we provide, because because we've been in and out of every homes, every child, and we know so much more than the high schools do at September of 9th grade. So that trust and that partnership is incredibly important to the success of the child. And our sister schools across the country, there are now about 12,000 graduates of Nativity Miguel schools across the country. And they still stay in touch with them. So it's not just when you graduate from college, but you're kind of a member of St. James School for life. And I look forward to the day when graduates can come back and take my job and teach at St. James. And that's the big goal.
I second Dave's point about the importance of remaining connected with students post-graduation. And as I mentioned, we go to 5th grade, so it's funny to think of our 5th graders as graduates. It can be a little misleading for folks sometimes who are thinking, oh, they went to college. Well, no, they went to middle school. But the reality for us is that most of our kids are coming from households where they do not have adults in the immediate family who have experienced school success quite often. And those middle years can be really tricky. Many of you with children certainly understand that, or grandkids. I can't wait to be a grandparent when I can just laugh at my kids. Like my parents do with me now without little ones. But yeah, they are tenuous years. And every child, every family experiences, some of those, challenges that come with coming of age, moving into adolescence and so forth. The reality for our kids, though, is that the safety net is not, frankly, too often, it's not very extensive. The sort of tapestry of the net is not woven so tightly. And so there's just less room for slippage. So if our kids get it wrong, what we have is jail, teenage pregnancy, dropping out. So that, frankly, our kids aren't experiencing that by and large for a lot of reasons. But our kids are anomalies, frankly. And so what we have to do, what our board has charged us with, and one of our trustees is sitting right over there, and he will shake his head if I'm getting it wrong, we've been charged as a team at the school with sustaining the investment. We get most of our kids when they're 4 years old, 3 and 4 years old. We believe that's important because the earlier you can start, the better for the child. The child will be more inclined, in theory at least, to stay on that path leading to broadened social mobility. That's what we're banking on. But then we don't have our kids in terms of the Monday through Friday program after 5th grade. So what we've created is a graduate support program. We have one individual in particular whose primary job is to track our students post 5th grade. Tries to visit every school at least once a year. We receive reports from from the receiving schools that our students attend, giving us updates on how it's going. We provide opportunities for social interaction and so forth, trying to create a kind of cohort sensibility so that our kids know I've always got, Nasir or Jane or whatever, because they understand, and I've known them since I was 4. That kind of cohort connection, provides an important resource as well, et cetera. And as well as, providing ongoing graduate support. Our oldest group is going to 11th grade. We started doing college visits and that kind of thing. Justice won't need that, our student who's here, because Church Farm provides that. But some of our kids go to schools, where they just don't have the resources to provide that kind of support. So we're trying to provide those additional supports. But that's it. What that is, in my mind, is social capital. What we have provided our families with is broadened access. this is a part of the opportunity that we're trying to provide our families with, broadened access to social capital, networks, information, individuals and resources that they can tap into. You know, I mean, none of us get where we're going without somebody assisting us, supporting us, partnering with us. And that's what we try to provide our families with. And again, in that setup, the kids are the primary beneficiaries. And what happens is often kids from low-income, poor communities don't have broad access to social capital. And as a result, you know, their prospects are limited.
Wow. I would also add to that, Kevin, I was talking to Kevin yesterday a little bit about this panel today. We've noticed a trend that unfortunately is not positive. And the trend is that when our students were first class when they arrived in ninth grade, a number of our families stepped back and felt that they were on the right track and they were good to go. And so, in fact, the amount of family support lessened, and their energy maybe went to a younger child that had a lot more need for a sibling. So, in fact, our graduate support programs are incredibly critical to our high school success story.
From our perspective, we're starting to build that out. We've kind of done it anecdotally and informally, and we're working to a point where it's a firm part of our program. One of the reasons why, if you think about a 4-year career at Church Farm School, this institution will have invested $228,000 into a student at the minimum. That's not including other resources like time, other incidentals and things like that someone in the community might cover. So in that regard, when you think about how just the financial resources we put into a student, added people, power, and time, and capital, we want to make sure that it's invested in our students who do the right thing. So we want to make sure that they get through college. Research will tell you that, especially with the students that we all work with, they need that extra support. They don't have the capital. They don't have the relationships. They don't have sometimes the wherewithal to think about, you know, I can remember my freshman year, I got a parking ticket. I didn't pay it. I didn't pay it. And at the end of the year, I got a notice that said, I might not be able to return to Davidson College over like a $75 parking ticket. So what did I do? I called my mom. My mom put $75 in my bank account, and I paid the ticket. Some students that we serve don't have that ability, right? They can't just call home and say, hey, I need $100 because if I don't pay this fee, I'm not going to be able to return. And we've had students who come back and have been in issues such as that. People in our community have stepped up. So it's one of those things where if you just think about the sheer thing, that the amount and all the things that are built up to prevent students that we serve to get through college, something as small as a parking ticket or a fee can prevent them from getting their college degree. And in that regard, at $228,000 at minimum that this school is investing could go to this. So as we build our support system, we're doing surveys, we're trying to figure out what's most important. And as we look to build that out, we're looking at a program that's going to not only get our students to college, but out through college. So that's kind of the track we're on. And it works in hand with a lot of the community-based organizations, feeder schools, other partners that we work with, because they do this work before. Andy and Seeds, they follow their kids to college. Like Eric, they both said they're following their kids as well. So it's one of those things that we have to do, because you can no longer look at education as K through 12, it's K through 16. And people already start to think K through 20, right? Because it's just changing life outcomes for people in education.
They said it all. And, you know, I think, and I'm glad Brandon brought that up, but, you know, it is a very tenuous nature with a lot of our families that literally 2 days ago got a call from a mom whose car went into the shop. $800 to get the car out of the shop. She can't do it, and her daughter is up at a boarding school in Massachusetts, and she is now seriously thinking for next year, I can't send her back there because if another $200, $100 thing happens, I can't support her. A girl who's at another school was 2 months into her history course when the teacher realized she didn't have the book. She was failing, she was not getting her work in, and the teacher just didn't think to ask, what's going on? I don't see the book. And this was an $80 book that she could not afford. So, Seeds is there for that. I'm really happy to say that we are there in a lot of cases, but I think we all are under the resource constraint of people and money. We have 550 students in private schools in 21 different states right now, and it's a massive piece for us to try and make sure that they're getting through. Thankfully, 98% of the Seeds kids are getting through high school graduation at the school where they began. So it's a wonderful, it is working, but for that 2% is a big number for us, and we're constantly trying to work with the schools and work with the families to make sure that $1,500 is not getting in the way with that. I was talking to an organization the other day who had a brilliant idea, and they've implemented this they've set up a hotline for their families that it's an 800 number that a kid or a parent can call at any time of day and be put in touch with the right resources depending upon why the call came in. I thought it was good. It's another resource, it's another expense, but something that's vastly needed.
I can keep asking questions, but I'd like to know if you guys would or have any questions.
Kind of touched on it. You invest. There's a lot invested into the student or child as they go through the process. And I'm very big in my life for failures. So, early on, the first year or two, if you have a bad candidate, it might be easier to part ways. But once the child's been through all of your programs, and you guys transform was by the highest pressure, because hundreds of thousands are invested in that child by the time you see them. So I'm just curious, maybe talk about the failure side, I hate to use the word, but the failure side, and how do you guys learn from that? And it's hard to break away from a family or a child when you just realize it's not going to work.
I think middle school children are wired to make mistakes every minute. In our school, we give a lot of room for mistakes, 5th, 6th, 7th, and less as they get older. But you're right. You need to provide that space to learn. We don't come. I know Eric's school really well. We don't come from a punitive model where we use the word detention. It's called we do restorative justice, or we do behavioral enrichment. So many times schools are seen as adversarial relationships with a lot of our families because they've had pretty horrible experiences in neighborhood schools or other schools. So we allow students to make mistakes, and you can only do that if you have the resources, the money, the people to sit with the child. And that's why in our low-performing schools in our country, in our cities, we have they're run like jails. We're just pushed into a room for detention without any reflection, without any thought. We pray a lot at St. James, and we pray with our kids. And we greet them in the morning and say, "Hey, it's a new day." And with middle school kids, it's important to stop 4 or 5 times a day to check in to see how they're feeling. How's your day going? Thumbs up, thumbs down, so. And let's reset ourselves for the day. Every so often at St. James, we have to part ways for students that on the severe side needs to be special ed. We're not a special ed school, although I have to say special education is good education. It's a good way to teach kids. But every so often we have a child that we have to find other resources for.
And philosophically, we're very closely aligned in terms of how we deal with difficult situations, discipline, redirection, and so forth. As Dave said, the punitive approach just doesn't work for us. And But the reality is, and this is no, Dave alluded to this too, I mean, in my mind, this is no strike or it's not a finger pointing thing, against schools that do have a more punitive approach. I mean, they often are bigger, they often are not selective. You got to take all comers. I mean, that's just the nature of the public system. And it's one of the reasons why we've chosen to maintain a more intimate environment. We have a 7-to-1 student-teacher ratio. A part of what informs that is our ability to actually get to know kids and families beyond just their names, beyond just what we have on paper. We do every summer, every teacher, once he or she at the end of a school year, the previous school year, receives a class list, their job by the time school starts is to visit every household, to start building the relationship. That's our home visit program, and there's more to it, but we couldn't do that if we were a school of 800, 1,200. So that intimacy factor is key, so that when the problems do arise, and they're inevitable, maybe, we have a few kids who, just have a propensity for dealing with challenges by getting mad and lashing out. I have one in my own household. He doesn't go to my school. Sometimes I wish I could send him to someone else, but that's a whole other issue. Thanks for listening to that, because I got that. And sometimes we have parents, guardians. Maybe we do charge tuition. It's nominal, sliding scale. We try to make it affordable. You pay what you can afford. We have some families that don't pay on time to save their lives. Well, given our size, we can actually sit down with folks and talk through it. We've taken the time at the very beginning with the home visit, through our enrollment process at the beginning, to build relationships beyond, just maybe what a traditional school might do. And so most of those challenges we're able to work through. But it does come, there do come times from time to time when we have to let a family go. And those are very hard, because we do invest not just a lot of financial resources, but emotionally as well. In every single individual family, we try and facilitate success. We try to learn from those as best we can. But being a small, intimate community, I think facilitates an ability to really individualize our approach, family to family, child to child.
In our admission process, well, let me first say, if there's a bad fit, as my head of school has said, I'll take the blame for the first, my office will take the blame for the first 6 weeks. After that, it's on our faculty, right? We turn them over. It's on Mr. Seeley and his staff at that point in time. With that said, we try our best to learn from our admission process and then the products that we develop afterwards. So, as much as we also put an emphasis on certain academic metrics, we are not bound by those academic metrics. Our biggest concern is character. And it's always hard to try to assess character through an application or an enrollment process. But it's one of those things through interviews and conversations with family, high school placement officers, from heads of schools, and from people in the community. We try to get a sense of what type of kid this is. Pretty much every director of admission in independent schools will tell you they're looking for kids who are smart, nice, and kind. That's ideal. But kids that we work with have so many more challenges, come from so many different places, that you also have to think about that those other artifacts that play into that student's behavior, that student's career. I've had students who have sat in my office and said, this is just a great place because I had 3 meals a day and I didn't have that when I was at home, right? And you think about that in the aspect of attrition, right? Sometimes it is just a bad fit, and sometimes we have to say goodbye to a family. But on the other hand, you also think, what is their goal? What are they leading to? So in that regard, we also get very tight emotionally to our students. it's one of those things we will try to extend ourselves exponentially, I feel personally, before we say goodbye, right? There's not all, a 1 or 2 strikes you're done rule. It's usually there's a strike and there's subsequent 10, 20 conversations before another strike. And then we have to talk more seriously. If we're dealing financially with the families, it's one of those things where we will work and work and work with families to help them to come to get their balance and arrears paid up. Some schools will just say, all right, you're done. When it comes to behavior, we really try to think about, how we interact with the student, how we have developed and helped them and look to help them grow over time, and the influences that are at play, because we want to make sure that, students that come through our doors are supported as best as possible. So when we do have a failure, the best thing it is you learn so much from your failures. And I won't say that students are failures, but it's just a bad fit. Then it's something that my office starts to think about.